Welcome to Om on the Range, where we share the practice of meditation, the wisdom of Western Buddhism, and the refuge of our community. Whether you are new to meditation or a longtime practitioner, committed or curious, this offering is here to share solutions, stories, and support. Happiness and better health are available to everyone. It just takes practice. This is Om on the Range. Hello and welcome to episode number 51 of Om on the Range. My name is Whit and I am your co-host this week. And as always, we're very glad to have you here. This week, my partner in crime, Steph Watkins, joins us to co-host. Steph, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well, Whit. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, some weeks you and I do this together and some weeks we don't, but we always do this together because on the weeks that you're not on, you're the person who creates and edits and ultimately posts the show. So you do a wonderful job. You're a great partner. Thank you so much for all your work.
Oh, you're welcome. It's my pleasure. I'm really happy that I have a purpose and a mission and that I can help out the Sangha in this way. So thank you for bringing me on board.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure doing this with you every week. We're getting ready to celebrate 1 year. That'll be next week. So we'll get together again on that with some of the other Om on the Range alumni and teammates. But again, just can't thank you enough for all your work.
It's truly a pleasure and an honor. And I feel like we're doing good work here, Whit. And it's fun to listen to you every week. You know, I get to edit and I'm learning so much from them. It's a potent podcast.
Big list of things not to do. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you to share. So you and I talked a few weeks ago and kind of put this together. We wanted to have you on because you were going to attend the multi-day silent retreat that TBC put on the end of June into July. And so we wanted to touch on that. Well, how was the retreat, just in general, before we get into the nuts and bolts?
It was beautiful. I really enjoyed it. I would say it's probably one of my most favorite retreats that I've done in my life. It's hard to beat Spirit Rock, but this was really special.
Before we explore the teachings from the retreat, what happened there that surprised you or affected you in ways that you didn't expect?
My affinity for the nuns, quite honestly.
Okay.
I've never had a connection with Catholicism, and I was really surprised by the grounds, the peace, the energy. I got to interact with the nuns. I got to get a tour of their mother house and see the artwork and the things that they have done there, the charitable works that they've done. I just felt so connected to their passion and their love for humanity. I was really taken back by how good it felt to be in their presence.
Okay. So the retreat was held at the Marillac Center in Leavenworth, which is also on the grounds for St. Mary's College. And is that right? St. Mary's?
Yeah.
I said that with so much confidence that I don't know if that's true. If not, they should change the signage, but yeah, let's go with that.
Overall, I think it's called Sisters of Charity.
Okay.
And so the Marillac Center is a wing of the Sisters of Charity that houses retreatants. So the Marillac Center is where we were, and we had a special room for us that we could gather in a circle. And then our residences were on 3 different floors or 2 different floors. I was on the top floor, so I had a lot of stairs to climb every day, multiple times a day. So I got a good workout in. But also my floor was connected to the mother house. So I could walk the other direction towards the nuns and be in their space in seconds. So the retreat center is connected to the mother house.
Yeah, it's amazing what good hosts they are. Both the nuns and Father Kevin is the priest there, but he's also the director of the retreat center. And he's a tremendous human being, and they're all just so welcoming. They all seem to really embrace not just the fact that we're spiritual retreatants, like you said, but also they're interested and very respectful of Western Buddhism. And it's such an interesting mesh when you get a chance to be with them and be around them and feel all their love and support for what we're doing. There's no suspicion. There's no question of that what we're doing is sincere and heartfelt, just like how they live. And
I'll tell you one experience I had there. I was walking back from lunch and I was walking next to a nun. She just was teeny tiny. And I looked over at her and she looked at me and we just beamed love eyes at each other. And she said, she put her hands together and she said, Namaste. And it just pierced my heart like an arrow. I was just like, wow, this woman has lived her whole life in Catholicism and married to Christ. And she says namaste to me like there's no difference between us. Like she recognized me as a fellow pilgrim on the path. And it was just such a beautiful moment. I will cherish that for the rest of my life.
and that is such it's such a profound experience, but it's also such a profound teaching in that two people with the stories are different. For like the
Yeah.
terminology is different, the history is different, but the path is the same. If you're sincere and authentic
Yes.
and can approach it as a pilgrim and not as a conqueror, as Victor likes to point out. I think it's so moving, and what a great moment that must have been.
It was powerful. It truly was. I felt so kindred with her, this woman who's devoted her whole life to prayer and service and charity and poverty. And I felt her genuine love and like there was no judgment there at all, no difference whatsoever, just this pure being of light. And I really received it.
It's difficult to remember sometimes that judgment piece that you mentioned. We feel Western Buddhism is not universal. It's not particularly popular, I guess is the right word for where
Mhm.
we live. It's new. It's an immigrant, frankly. So, and all that's great and all that's beautiful. But I think sometimes as we embrace it, I know I sometimes can struggle with, more established religions and more established pilgrims are looking down on us or don't respect us. And most of the time we say, and that's okay, that's fine, that's okay. But we forget that maybe some of them are, but not all of them are. A lot of them
Mhm.
are in the same place we are in that they are accepting and they're aware and they don't care so much about the story. Just because they have them and they're important to them doesn't mean that we aren't still on the same path together. It's such a great lesson.
Yes, it truly was. That was a very special moment for me. So that and I got a tour of the grounds where the nuns live, and there's a whole nursing home there for aging nuns. Nuns from all over the world come there to live out their golden years and to pass away there, and they have state-of-the-art care. And I got to see all of that. And there was a beautiful woman there named Elvira who took me around. She's a supervisor. And it was really, really special. And I have a new appreciation. Yeah, it's really special. I'm really glad that happened.
Yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. I've been there before on retreats, and I don't think anybody goes and doesn't feel the love and the acceptance that these people are interested and are there for our well-being and are there to support us. I know
Truly.
that we heard every morning that, oh, the nuns are so excited you guys are here and they're praying for you. And it's like, well, that's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Glad that somebody is. What if I'm on the wrong path? It's good to have cover. So uh,
Yeah.
that's great. This retreat was every retreat the TBC does has a theme or has a subject. This one was transitions. A couple of them were exploring endings, the void, and new beginnings. Can you describe what the void means and how it feels to you?
Yeah, I can. I think I'm in it. I'm in the void, and I'll try and explain what that is. It's this space, it's this limbo space between an ending and a new beginning. I can expand on that. It can feel like the rug has been pulled out from under me, whether that's my choice or the choice of someone else.
Yeah.
It's finding myself floating or falling or undefined with disidentification or disillusionment or confusion, anger, sadness, grief, loss. Anytime that I find myself between an ending and a new beginning.
That's interesting because it seems like we spend a lot of time there. And I think there's also some anxiety. I'm going to go off script a little bit here. Not that we have a script per se, but do you think that's also a byproduct, becoming more aware of this void as you become more practiced with working with awareness? One of the things I think I've really found over the years and years of practice is that sometimes the things I find, they're not good, they're not bad, but they're surprising. And earlier in my life, when I didn't have as much of a practice, it was much easier to ignore them. And you
Mhm,
do that at your own peril, right? That's still
mhm.
causing you still carry around the pain and the anxiety, and you're still floating and you're still uncomfortable, but you ignore it and you keep busy with, I don't know, with all sorts of other more worldly ways to pass the time. So I just think that's one of those things you gain through awareness is becoming aware of the void. And
Absolutely. I think you're spot on. I think one of our tendencies is to wanna rush through the void because our culture wants us to get back into productivity or having an identity, knowing who we are, and there's a real uncomfortable feeling of being in the void, like, I'm not fitting into society, I'm not a productive member of society, and so we just ignore the feelings that we have in the void, and we just bypass them, we just move on, we just rush through the void, and we go grabbing after the new beginning. We can't sit with the uncertainty of not knowing who we are. We're uncomfortable sitting with no identity or like
right,
what Robert's talk was today, disidentification or something like that. Oh, before I was Captain Steph and now I'm not. And
right,
you're right. Maybe it's because I'm older, I can sit with it
right.
now and I don't
So,
care so much what society thinks.
but I don't think that necessarily relieves the anxiety that you find there. Even if you're comfortable with the depression and it's still weird to be in that spot because you so identify with the adjectives we use to describe ourselves, right?
Yes.
I'm a captain, I'm a husband, I'm a this, I'm a that. And you start to realize that those are just adjectives and they're, start holding them up to the light and they're pretty translucent. There's a lot of holes. And plus, any changes are going to completely tear up those identifiers that were so strong. And sometimes it's trauma that we hang on to that way, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
it's I was a victim or I was mean or I was cruel or whatever. And a lot of times the stories we tell aren't accurate. They're not necessarily true, but we hang
This
on to them.
we do. We do. And this is why it's so important to stop and sit in the void and feel what it feels like to let those identifications go and to feel the uncomfortable feeling of it and to metabolize it and to come out the other side of that bardos, if you will, or that void and come out the other side knowing better who you are and having the new beginning come to you. There's this sort of flowering process or a growth that happens in the void that says, "Oh, I see what's going on here. I'm letting go of an old identification. I'm just going to sit with letting that go. I'm going to metabolize the grief." And then suddenly new ideas come to you and you're off into this next new beginning in your life. But if you don't sit there, you can grab after things that you think it with your mind that you want to become, and then that might not be the best route
Right.
coming from your head. It's coming from past identifications, and it's not really coming from your authentic self, and so that that can be detrimental to rush into a new beginning and not let that new beginning come to you from that flowering process within the void, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. And I was thinking two very stark examples of that, I think, are jobs and significant others. You
Yes,
know,
100%.
if you don't grow through whatever it is you have to learn, whatever the void is offering or wanting to teach you or whatever you find there, then you
Mhm.
just pack all that stuff up and take it to the next one, and then you're surprised when that one doesn't work.
That's right.
I've been married for a long time and it's been a successful marriage, and I'm proud of that and I'm thankful for that. But I've had some jobs where things have, it doesn't matter whose fault it is, but there have been times when jobs have come and gone, and I've noticed that I finally maybe learned to treat them differently, to not show up in the same way over and over. Because what happens is I show up, I do really well, and then I get bored, or I start to notice things that I don't like, and the
Mhm.
negativity plays a role in that. And it's like, hey, you've learned some stuff. Let's show the fact that we've learned some stuff. Let's progress. By the
Mhm.
way, I've had a very successful career. I don't want to make it sound like I am not doing this show from a cardboard box. Although check on me next week because you never know. But
You got your background blurred, so I don't know.
I could be anywhere, Steph. I often am.
Right.
I think it's interesting also that you pointed out that we don't want to rush this. This entire practice, meditation, Western Buddhism, this spiritual path, Catholicism, if it's done right, which again, same with Western Buddhism, if it's done right, takes time. It takes a it takes a lifetime. In fact, most Buddhists will tell you it's going to take more than one. And that's okay because it doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is you. And so there's another very important reason not to rush through the void. Is there
Right.
any way to get comfortable in the void that you can think of?
Yes. I think the way to get comfortable in the void is to have a sangha, maybe a member or two of the sangha that can sit with you and listen to your struggle, not necessarily fix your struggle or try
Come on the
and
podcast and tell us all about it.
right? But to have a friend or a sangha member with a regulated nervous system to sit with you, I think that makes the void easier whenever there is a witness in that passage part of your life. We look at rites of passage. Robert brought this up in the retreat that rites of passage, every tribe, every culture has them, but we need rites of passage for divorce, for breakups, for loss, other than a funeral or other than just moving on, which is what so many of us do whenever we get a divorce or a breakup. But if there's someone there that can witness that transition and offer their calm, regulated nervous system, you can attune your nervous system with theirs. And they can attune theirs with you, and you can feel A, you have someone witnessing what you're going through, and B, you have someone regulating your nervous system and
Okay.
helping you attune. And I think that's really important to have a witness that can see your grief, that can see your sadness, your loss, your confusion, your disidentification with your former captain self, and to have someone who can sit with you in that pain, not to fix it, but to
Right.
sit with you in it and to help you regulate your
Right.
nervous system. Tara Brach talks about this with, her RAIN process. Robert mentioned it today in his talk. He was saying there's fight, flight, freeze, and denial versus pause, observe, feel, and let go. That's the key is to pause, to observe how you feel it in your body, not the story, but just the feelings, feel it, and then let it go. And if you can do that in meditation and with a witness or somebody who can regulate your nervous system with you, attunement, I think that's super powerful. And again, Tara Brach's RAIN process talks about that as well.
Yeah, I think I prefer Robert Rumble's Poffel system though.
Powerful.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. So
Powerful. I didn't even
POFL is what
catch
it was.
that.
Poffel.
Yes. I
Um,
think we're gonna use that.
yeah, it'll look great on a t-shirt. Bob says Poffle. Um,
Bob says Puffle. So
Another
great.
thing that came to mind, and I've shared this maybe on the show before, but to what you're talking about, if someone is listening and they don't know or feel or have easy access to that sort of support, one of the things I would suggest is, hey, write a letter or an email either
Mm,
to someone if you feel like that's, and it's not a you did this to me and I'm going to get you back, that sort of thing, but just maybe write it to yourself and say this happened and this is how it feels and I'd like to feel differently about it. Whatever you want to say, you don't send it. You write it down, then you tear it up and you throw it away, or you type out an email and then you delete it. Whatever you want to do. But I found that is another way to change the narrative and change how it feels
hmm
inside. Um,
Absolutely. That's a great idea. I think journaling is super important.
right.
And
That's a better way. I wish I just said you should journal instead of all that nonsense I said. But yeah, that's exactly
it's
right.
not nonsense, Whit. I think you're spot on. I think writing a letter to the person that upset you is important, but you have to also understand the letter could be written at first. The first draft could be written from that inner wounded child who's responding to the situation from a more immature place. And then the second letter could be from the wise adult self. And then you can make a decision like from the wise adult, okay, I've got this. I understand what's going on here, little Steffi. I'm going to remove you from the situation now. I've got this. I'm going to take care of you. And I hear your feelings. I hear your story, but we're going to just sit with the feelings now and we're just going to feel our feelings. And I'm going to let you cry. I'm going to let you be upset and just going to metabolize the feelings. We're going to let the story be over here on a piece of paper in that email or in that journal, the story over there. And we're just going to metabolize these feelings now. And we're going to get on with our life from an adult perspective. But I've got you. Whenever you get upset about things and you have story, I'm going to hold your story for you, but we're not going to live our life from that story. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, the power in this is just in the process, just like everything else with meditation and Western Buddhism. It's just, I'm going to be aware of it. I'm going to sit there with it. I'm not going to judge it. I'm going to accept it, whatever it is at that moment. It goes back to journaling and also not rushing through the void. I'm going to sit here right here and I'm just going to notice what I'm feeling and where I am, and I'm going to accept it. I'm not going to look for the exit. I'm not going to run through it. In fact, I've said this before, but you start to do this and you notice that pretty soon you're kind of looking for these things. You're sitting there and you might just feel just a tinge of anxiety or something. It's like, what is that? Why is
Yeah,
it? It's because I was running late. Well, why does that matter? I don't like it when I'm late because then it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well,
that's
why does that? When you're
that's
reeling it
it.
in, but you're not
That's it.
judging it. You're just, maybe you ask some questions and maybe you just follow the thread and let it run. And
That's
feel it.
powerful. That's
That
powerful.
is powerful.
That's
That is
Bob's powerful.
100%
That's
powerful.
you pause, you observe, and you feel the feeling and you let it
Oh my
go.
gosh.
Or it's the I in rain, in Tara's rain. It's the
Yeah.
investigate your feelings.
Yes.
You're investigating. You're recognizing, hey, oh, I've got a little anxiety here, and you allow it. And then you investigate where is that sitting in my body? And then
Right.
you can love yourself, nurture. The N is for nurture, but it's also non-attachment. So there you have it.
That's tremendous. It sounds like the retreat really had obviously some good content, but it really had an effect on you.
It
Um,
did.
has it changed your meditation practice or the way that you relate to what you find? Have you noticed any change?
Yes, the change that I've noticed is that I'm allowing the void to just be here. I find that I'm calmer in the void since the retreat. As I entered into the retreat, which is why I agreed to have this conversation with you, I recognized in myself that I'm becoming more comfortable just being because of Kyle's class, Mechanics of Meditation. He helped me deepen my meditation practice. And so for 2 or 3 months before the retreat, I've been sitting for anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes every day. And that meditation practice has really helped me feel more comfortable just being. instead of being so uncomfortable with no identification, uncomfortable with not having a job, uncomfortable with retirement, uncomfortable with not having a title, you know?
Right.
I've been so uncomfortable with not being a productive member of society that our society tells us that we should be, and that we're basically a loser if we're not, or there's something wrong with me if I'm not a productive member of society. And the retreat made me feel like there's nothing wrong with me. This is perfectly normal, and I need to honor it. It's a beautiful space to be in, to allow myself to rest, to allow myself to metabolize my feelings, and to let the old identifications, the disillusionment to surface, the disidentification to surface, and to let it go. And yeah, I hope that
That's
answered your
beautiful.
question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other thing, as you were speaking, I always find it interesting how much our individual practice mirrors what's going on in our lives. From the granular to the grand, it's the same thing. So when you were talking about how your practice had changed, you're dropping some of those, I'm going to say requirements. That's maybe not fair. But when you start a practice, a lot of times it's like, I got to sit here. I'm going to do it for this long. I'm going to do it at this time. And that's fine. You're building something. But as you practice more, you can start dropping some of those things. And it's
Mhm.
not necessarily, it's probably going to get longer because you're enjoying it more. And also you feel like you can actually feel some growth. And I think it mirrors as you drop some of those requirements at that level, you also drop requirements of what it means and to be Steph, for example. You don't have to have a job, you don't have to have a title. You are this. You're going to show up this way. You're going to do a great job because that's who you are. And it's not because you're special, although you certainly are. You're special because you're authentic. You're special because you are Steph. And that's exactly what we need at this moment, at this time and place. And once
Mhm.
you learn that, then that's what becomes important to you, and that's who you want to be.
I think you're spot on. Absolutely. My practice is deeper because of the retreat and because of Kyle's teachings from the book, The Mind Illuminated. And I'm okay with dropping identification more and more the
Right.
older I get.
Well, that's great. And I often wonder if sometimes if am I really growing or am I just getting older? But then I'll run into people that are much older than I am that are still grumpy and bitter and sad and scared. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe it's a little of both, but
Yeah.
either way, I'm so happy to be on this journey. So we're almost to the end of our time. Here's what I was hoping you could do. If
Okay.
listeners remember only one message from this conversation, what do you hope they carry with them from our talk about transitions and such?
The number one thing I could say is I used to think of life like a series of destinations, and to me now what it is it's just a series of in between places. Um, I've been through many voids in my life. I'm in one now, and I think we have to see these in between places as sacred. They're not a mistake. This is a sacred moment, and this is where we're becoming the next version of ourselves. And it's like letting the ground go fallow, and letting it rest before you plant something new in it. That's super important. Um, I think it's important to trust that life knows where it's going. Trust in this process. Don't rush the void. Don't rush this moment.
That's very well said. And again, in my heart, it also made me realize just think how much more relaxed and enjoyable life would be if you could rest into the void.
Yeah.
There's real freedom there to just say, hey, what I don't have to make all the decisions. I just have to show up, do the best I can, be me, be authentic,
Yes.
and see what life offers. Yeah, I'll still have to make decisions, but I'm constantly getting better at that and I'm not keeping score. Steph, thank you so
Yeah.
much for being
Thank you.
on. It's always so much fun to have you, and you're such a beautiful human and such a great friend. I love you to death. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And
Thank you, Whit. I love you too very much. It's
uh,
wonderful to be on this journey with you. I really cherish this thing that we do.
yeah, it's been a good year. So thank
It
you.
has.
And thank you all to our listeners. A reminder that you can find us on Spotify and on as well as the TBC Facebook page and also on the Discord channel for TBC. If you want to email us, we can be reached at homeontherangepodcast@gmail.com. You can also use those platforms to leave us a message there. So thank you for listening and join us next week for our 52nd one-year anniversary. We'll have the whole crew together, hopefully. Until then, this is Home on the Range signing off and wishing you happy trails.
Happy trails.
Thanks to our Home on the Range production team for making this program possible, and to Mr. Brad Athey for composing and performing the original music. And to you, our listeners, thank you for being a part of this journey as we explore meditation, Western Buddhism, and the path towards a happier, healthier life. Remember, less suffering and more joy are available to everyone. It just takes practice. Until next time, stay grounded, stay kind, and keep finding peace in the simple, practical things. For all of us here at Home on the Range, happy trails.